morning, 6:06 a.m. Well, it turns out they did doctor the footballs. Doggone those guys.
Did they?
I have a question for you, and
What?
to me, this is the obvious question.
Yeah.
If we have been playing football all this time and losing 38 points per game because we have not been properly deflating the footballs, because we hyperinflate the footballs, I wanted to know a few things. I have a few questions.
Yeah.
First of all, who came up with this stupid rule to inflate footballs beyond the point at which the quarterback and the people who catch the footballs want them to be?
Yeah, no kidding.
Does anybody know the answer to that? Look, somebody's got to walk the plank here. If we just found out that we've been losing out on 38 points of scoring per game every single game in the entire football season because some idiot came up with a rule about footballs, we've got to find that person and punish them. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That's an obvious question.
Yep. Every team in the league would be scoring the 60, 70 points combined per game.
Yeah, it'd be 95 to 93.
Wow.
You know, that's the score
well,
of the football
actually,
game.
It only works for the home team. The other team, for some reason, it doesn't work for the other team.
Yeah, it's very strange. And here's the other thing which somebody brought up. Not having the footballs fully inflated or hyperinflated, as I will call them from here on out. Because if the football players don't want them to be that inflated, who the hell is running this place? Excuse my language.
Yeah, it's not really a safety thing.
It doesn't make any sense. Why would you inflate footballs beyond the point at which people like to play with them and play with them well? I thought the point of the game, if I may, was to have the players score as many points as they can while having the other team try and stop them. Now, if they're playing with equipment, it's like saying, all right, look, we need you to weigh or wear about 70 pounds of additional pads. What's the purpose? Is there a safety issue? No. Is it for look? Do I not look good in my regular pads? No. You look fine. Everything's fine. It's good. We're actually going to put like a dumbbell on your helmet, but then pad it really well, and then that'll be good for us because we're the refs. Who makes up these rules?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that was my takeaway.
So they're not taking away the win or any. They're just accusing New England of being cheaters again.
Here's what I'd do. I would charge New England. What's our national debt?
I think it's about $1 million.
No, it's about 18 trillion. Good guess, though.
Thank you. I was going to contribute today.
Yeah, I think our national debt's about 18 trillion. Look, this is obviously a horrendous affront to humanity. Horrendous. And somebody's got to pay. So I say we charge the New England Patriots $18 trillion. Easy. And then we get rid of the stupid rule. Come on. Give me a break.
Now, the way the government would do it is they would tax everyone a New England Patriots tax.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yes.
And then maybe you can get like free dental care with it.
We need to change the American motto. Yeah, we've got apple pie. I guess it's baseball, but we're moving on to football. Honestly, can we just say that people like football better than baseball these days? Am I right on that?
I hope so.
I think more. I don't know if more, I think more people go to baseball games because they play 162 of them every season. Okay, there might only
long
be
and boring.
There might only be 300 people in the stands, but if you add up 300 people per game, obviously you're playing 17 games a week. You're going to end up with more people than football. I think this is America's game. So we have to have football, apple pie, mom, and a big fat tax to help, the New England Patriots pay their debt to society.
Yeah, pretty soon most of it will go to them, huh?
Yeah, well, obviously. They need more. Those who have will be given. I'm going to play some of the parts of Joni Ernst from Iowa's speech. And she was one of the newcomers into the Senate who removed a Democrat who needed to go. And I'm glad to do that. Apparently, Obama, he calls for civility, and then he immediately taunts Republicans right after that. I've never heard of a president referring to their own election in a State of the Union speech. It just doesn't happen. This is not a rally for him. He is the president of the whole United States. We don't talk about elections. We don't talk about parties. We don't talk about any of that stuff. And this man, frankly, I'm embarrassed by Obama. He embarrasses me.
He's gone rogue, huh?
Well, he is who he is. He is who all Democrats are. If Mark Biegel got up there and was to give a speech as the president of the United States, he would taunt Republicans too. He would give a laundry list of things we're not going to do for free money that he's going to find in other people's pockets. I like finding free money in other people's pockets. That's my favorite thing to do.
So does my laundry guy.
Does he find like millions and billions and trillions of dollars in other people's pockets? Because I might have to get into the laundry business.
You know, I've never asked him, but I would bet there's a lot of mistakes.
Well, Nick Pepperworth from Udelhoven, I think, has just identified my next career. He flies off to Hawaii, and he has this fancy schmancy, double pantsy gold finder or metal finder. And he goes out amongst the reefs and amongst, into the ocean with his metal finder. And he said his brother just this weekend found, I think, 19 rings.
Holy cow.
Cha-ching. And he found 3.
Wow.
And so he goes down to Hawaii. I would imagine, I don't think he sells them. They're like little trophies.
You just go hang out on the beach with your gold finder.
Yep. You watch for people to go out with jewelry and come back without it. And off you go. Thank you very much. What reef were you swimming around there, schmuck?
You rob a tour, or you get a tour bus, and you make them all go in the water. I want you all to go in the water.
Go swim. It's very nice out there.
Then you can get back on your bus and leave.
No sharks other than me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Leave your jewelry. I'll find it. It's more of a challenge.
Of course, Nick is one of the great examples of humanity that we have. So I am just kidding.
There's a show called Bering Sea Gold. Out in Nome.
Okay. And they're talking about crab, though, aren't they?
No, gold. They
Actual
have these
literal gold.
Teams of dredgers.
Oh, yeah,
and they go out and they go out in the winter. But basically, they're diving down to the bottom and just sucking gold right out of the ground.
Huh.
It's pretty awesome. You got to try it.
I want to do that. Yeah, I heard that the guy who's on that show is super cocky.
There's a few of them. I mean...
What's life without being cocky? I mean, honestly. Of course, then when you get shown up, is it worth it?
Yeah, when you get shown up, then you get less cocky.
Yeah, but the thing is, how often are you going to get shown up, and how many people you've been cocky with versus get shown up by?
Yeah, and can you take that kind of rejection over and over?
I can't, not me. Lots to cover on the program today. Obama's State of the Union, state of attacking Republicans. Speech, the redistribution of wealth continues. What kind of a country do we want to be in? Barron's Oil Investments, will they be financial disasters? Lots to cover. KOAN, KVNT, Fagan and Biegel on air. 6:17 a.m. KOAN, KVNT, 569-1080 is the number. I am once again surrounded by technology. I've got a phone over here on my right. In front of me, I have what is called a gaming PC, which means it's faster, if I may be boastful for a moment, than your home computer by about a factor of 10.
It's like a Ferrari sitting on the desk.
It just sits here and idles. It's exciting. And then they gave me a new monitor, which I just hooked up.
What's really interesting is there's like 9 chairs in there.
Yeah. Are they breeding while we're not watching?
I'm not sure what's going on here with Eddie Burke show.
Who's handling the breeding program for chairs?
Yeah, maybe he's bringing in his whole family.
We're getting we're getting fancier chairs though. I mean, I am like,
yeah, that's funny because hardly any of them match.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, it is very like a family. We've got a couple of stools.
We should just name them and pretend people are there.
Hey, Fred, quit crossing your legs. That looks strange. All right, lots to cover on the program today, and I would love to hear from you. 569-1080 here on KOAN and KVNT, Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Murkowski is having to defend her Anwar record, and we are preparing to fight it out in court. That should be fun to see. I think we haven't had a 0 day in a year, right? Is that right, Brian? We have not had the temperature has not gotten to 0 at the airport in a year.
Right.
Which, as far as we know, has never happened in recorded history.
Well, it feels like it's gotten pretty close this week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But probably not at the airport. On the east side,
right?
Yeah, on the east side, it's probably minus 20 right now.
Yeah,
I don't know why. It's just cruel. It's cruelty.
Well, a quarter of the ice did over my entire car.
Sunday. Yeah, it's coming. It's below 0.
Oh,
yeah.
Sweet.
I think minus 7 is what they expect.
Oh.
Yeah, it's going to trend up a little bit, and then it's going to crash straight down through the floor. Minus 7. That's for a low, not a high.
You know, yesterday, 4 vehicles were stolen. People were just idling, warming up their car.
Yeah. Well, and do they know where approximately?
You know, I think it did say where, but it was in different parts of town.
Oh,
they ended up recovering 1 or 2 of them.
I think 3 of them now. They recovered 1.
They got a 3rd.
Yeah. Then they got 2 more.
Well, what I found out is it is illegal to leave your car warming up unattended unless you have a keyless entry device or an auto start. So if you don't have an auto start and you go out and warm up your car and somebody steals it, you could actually get a ticket. Ridiculous.
Did they hand out tickets?
I'm wondering if they give the people, oh, you got your car stolen? How'd it happen? Oh, I left it warming up. Oh, really? Come with me.
Now, aren't the environmentalist wackos telling us that we're supposed to warm up our cars?
Well, below 20, you're supposed to plug it in.
Plug it in.
But to drive your car, you should warm it up a few minutes, especially if there's a half an inch of ice on your windshield.
Well, yeah, there is that. I did drive around for about 7 miles with a half inch of ice on my windshield. I'm not going to attest to that because actually, for a while, I had no place to look out through the window.
Yeah, I think you could get a ticket for an obstructed view.
Well, I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why I drive right by the police station.
Scofflaw.
By the time I get there, though, my windshield is generally clear.
Wow.
And I did scrape this morning because it was not a good experience. One of those things you just got to learn from. You move on. You know, we work these things out over time. Legislature begins. Lawmakers want to balance the budget with no new taxes. This is a repeated phrase. This is the best news you can imagine. And we will cover that in the program. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Do you think they're telling the truth? 569-1080. And the other thing that I thought was interesting, Walker says nothing is off the table in the Alaska budget talks. Here is the measure of him as a governor, and here is the measure. I had lunch with somebody yesterday, and we were talking about the future of the state of Alaska. And it's going to be a tough one, you know, with a government that wants to consume oil at about $120 a barrel. and an oil industry that probably needs around $60 to $70 a barrel, and now it's at $30 a barrel. These are a couple of trends which are not good news.
Well, I'm going to go out and buy some barrels of oil.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And you just keep those barrels of oil, and at some point they will become, well, actually, I don't know that they will become worth more. That's the real question that people have now, is with the oil shale boom that went on, where we increased 6 million barrels of production in a fairly short period of time and had the opportunity to produce another 9, 10, 15 million barrels. And that's not even getting to Alaska's oil. We could produce 1.5 million more barrels a day. I mean, if you want to talk reality here.
Apparently, we don't need that many.
Well, people have been moving away. Our cars are much cleaner, right? They're much more efficient. They're much smaller as a result of massively high and inflated oil prices over time. But China recorded its worst growth in 21 years. India growth has underperformed for, I think, a decade because there is so much corruption and so much confusion over there. So it's difficult to say, where is the oil growth going to come from? A lot of people like oil. All of our oil fields are in decline. Huh? I guess not. What they keep finding is oil, then there A, should be, but B, there's a whole bunch more oil than we can probably use by the time we don't need oil anymore. Because we're moving away from having a society other than people who get to fly all the time. I don't get to fly very often.
We need to find some new cool uses for oil.
That's a great idea. Slides, pools. We could just fill pools with it.
Yeah.
And then have
everybody in a rubber suit,
face masks and stuff, and then light it on fire.
Yes.
We could have balloons that were not flammable but would heat up and then rise you up and then drop you back down again.
Yeah, like Glen's World of Oil. Have your own theme park.
For some reason, it sounds extremely dangerous. Yes, your $3 in insurance,
the drill pump,
$15,000.
Yeah, come on in.
You're almost sure to die if you come here. So this is the test for Walker and for legislators. Nothing is off the table. What's wrong with that state? So if I come to you and I say, son, let's say I'm your economic advisor and your dad. I guess I should just be your economic advisor because I'm
only 2 years older than me.
I'm thinking son. Okay, well, I'm not thinking of you specifically, even though you are a disaster with money.
But you're looking at me,
if I may say. I'm looking in your direction. Actually, there was a spot on the wall that I was imagining.
That would be okay. I would feel less nervous.
One of these chairs was my son. But, I mean, let's say that you've been living beyond your means for a long period of time. You got credit card bills that are really high. You got a mortgage that is really difficult for you to pay. And a lot of people expect things of you. And if I go to you and say, your income is $3,000. Your expenses over the last year have been $8,000. What are you going to cut? And you come back to me and say, with a very, very, very serious and stern look on your face, Dad, I don't know. Are you my son at this point? I've lost track of the.
Well, my reply would be, I would cut the cheese.
Dang it!
But
that's horrible. If we could get a, should be. Yeah. No, but you have this very serious look on your face. You look right into my eyes. Say, Dad, or whatever, Mr. Economic Advisor. Nothing is off the table. You want to know what I think of that answer? And who cares if nothing is off the table? I want to know what you're going to cut. I want to know what your base requirements are. What does it take for you to keep in your house? Are you going to move to a different apartment? What are you going? Nothing is off the table tells me nothing.
I know they're going to cut hockey.
They're going to cut hockey just because it's fun.
And football.
Hockey and football. Take that, suckers.
That we couldn't do it anymore. Sorry, folks.
Well, we will come that. See, I do believe that the municipality of Anchorage could probably institute a football and hockey tax to keep our football and hockey programs going, because this is the thing that you have to know. The last thing, The very last thing. Actually, this is after the last thing. You come all the way to the end of all things, and then this thing comes after that. The last thing we want is a whole bunch of football players without a football game to go to. That's the very last thing we want.
Yeah, and it's always the first thing they threaten to cut whenever there's
hockey.
problems with the school,
Yeah. I think we've only got $1 million surplus. Cut hockey. Yeah. We're only going to have $22 million extra. Hey, let's cut a hockey. Hi,
and then we'll hire 32 new teachers and put them on 10-year contracts.
Our agenda today includes cutting hockey, cutting football, and trying to figure out how to spend $22 million of extra money. Welcome to the school board. No, they're gonna threaten to cut hockey all the time. I think the cost of actually having your child in the hockey program, I think it covers just about everything other than travel. All the exercising and all the workouts and all the other things. And you're probably covered, but I don't know. I don't know exactly but they're going to keep doing that. So I don't care whether or not things are going. The point is, if you are $5,000 short in your monthly budget and you look very sternly and seriously at me and say, nothing is off the table, I want to know if you're not going to have pizzas. I want to know if you're going to change the way that you drive. I want to know if you're going to lower the heating in your house. I want to know if you're going to move to an apartment. Look, I want to know a whole bunch of things I don't want to know and I don't want to hear, and I don't care if nothing is off the table. It doesn't help me. It doesn't mean anything. It is useless as a statement. It is a throwaway line. It does not move anything anywhere. So that is the challenge for the governor. What is on the table? How are you going to identify core services, and how are we as Alaskans going to vote on that? Because anything that's going to be done by the government, largely we're going to have to pay for. You're listening to KOAN, KVNT, 629 AM, 569, 1080. Love to hear from you. It is Wednesday. 6:34 a.m. KOAN, KVNT, Fagan and Biegel on the air. I'm with you until 9 o'clock, and I'd love to hear from you. 569-1080 is the number, 569-1080. We stream live at danfagan.us, and I do believe there's going to be some big news for me here coming up in the next day or so, so keep your ears peeled for that. So Obama has several things which are sort of new. He urges civility, then taunts. He knocks constant fundraising and then asks for donations. He quotes himself. His address sets a new record for the most veto threats. Yeah. Well, that is a man who does not understand his place as president. He doesn't understand the purpose of the president as a uniter for the country, and that's because Democrats don't believe in that function of the president. They never have. So he is acting as Democrats want to act. I sure hope that we get a Republican just for the fact that we won't have to listen to this blazingly awful person in the form of Hillary, in the form of Biden, in the form of name your Democrat president, who is going to continue this trashing of the office of president. George Bush never did that. He didn't talk about his elections. He didn't talk about the parties. He talked about the country and what he thought was best. That is the purpose of the president during the State of the Union speech. You're not supposed to bring up your elections. But this is the new guy, right? This is who he is. President Obama's State of the Union speech Tuesday set a record for the most veto threats as he promised to nix legislation to tweak Obamacare, change the Dodd-Frank Wall Street legislation, undo his deportation amnesty, and approve stronger sanctions to punish Iran for its nuclear program. Mr. Obama issued two separate threats. The first one covered Obamacare, Dodd-Frank, and his unilateral immigration actions. I guess that's good. Obama warns of vetoes as he hits the road to push new programs and new taxes. You know, we do live in a far different country, and I realize I wish the country reflected their limited government values. A lot of people have found out that they want stuff from government. They need stuff from government. Not that they really need it, but they think they do. Because they could get it from charity and then they could get a job. And that's pretty much what we have always been called to do. But we're changing the way we look at things. Obamacare, in my mind, was a fundamental change in the way most people are going to conceive of government. Was it worth it? You bet it was. If we can't repeal it, it will mean that every person in some way or the other over time is going to be dependent on the government for their health insurance. Every person. Because the government wrote the law for what is in your health insurance. The government will subsidize about 86% of people who want health insurance. And even though they won't be able to afford to go to the doctor, they will still have it. And everybody will think the government is for health care, not liberty. The government is for health care and not liberty. That is the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. Or at least the conservative Republicans. I know that there are a lot of Republicans who don't hold to a limited government mantra. Anyway, it's just a different country, and we as conservatives are trying to figure out how to live in the new country or where it will stop. I don't think it will stop, by the way, unless we get control over the schools. Unless there's some force within our culture, broad culture, which gives people the great story of America, independent of government, which gives people the great story of people, families who don't need or want government, then how would anyone know that the government is not for health care? Or not health care. The government is not for health insurance. People don't get health care, they get health insurance. So that is the big question, which should haunt our minds as we go through this. Joni Ernst was the Republican response, and my guess is 99.9% of people missed the president's State of the Union address, and 99 missed Joni Ernst's response. But I would like to play the beginning of what she has to say, and this should give you a flavor for where the Republicans are headed this session.
Good evening. I'm Joni Ernst. As a mother, a soldier, and a newly elected state of Iowa, I am proud to speak with you tonight. A few moments ago, we heard the president lay out his vision for the year to come. Even if we may not always agree, it's important to hear different points of view in this great country. We appreciate the president sharing his. Tonight, though, respond to a speech, I'd like to talk about your priorities. I'd like to have a conversation about the new Republican Congress you just elected and how we plan to make Washington focus on your concerns again. We heard the message you sent in November, loud and clear, and now we're getting to work to change the direction Washington has been taking our country. The new Republican Congress also understands how difficult these past 6 years have been. For many of us, the sting of the economy and the frustration with Washington's dysfunction worried about. We felt them every day. We felt them in Red Oak, the little town in southwestern Iowa where I grew up and am still proud to call home today.
Well, that's where they're headed. You know what I don't like about this, by the way, and why I would make a terrible politician is Washington has created. I want to tell you what those are. And the reason that is she's running against Obama, not against Obama's policies. Because once you start getting specific with people, you know, about, well, we can't have 46 million people on food stamps. Well, you got some people on food stamps that ask the question, well, I'm sorry, what am I supposed to do? Get charity. Get a job. That's another answer. Not have as expensive a food. That is a great answer and one that we should lay at the feet of all of the environmentalists that are raising our costs. Look, there are good answers. They're not easy answers. They're traditional American limited government, personal responsibility answers. Those are the things that I want to hear these Republicans say. Those are the things which built this country, which made us the greatest country on earth. Not having 46 million people go to the government, get a credit card, and go buy their food. That isn't what made us the greatest country on earth. Now, I don't know what to do about the 46 million people who do that right now. Those are hard questions. We're obviously going to continue to support many, many people because we don't want people to starve. I don't know what the transition process would look like. I do know that I want a transition process and that we'll be a better country for it, both personally and stronger as a country, since we'll live within our means. But she didn't say that, and they are going to run against Obama, which is fine, and run against Washington. That was another thing that they said. They're going to let people know that we feel your pain as individual citizens. Somebody nailed it, by the way, and that is that one of the problems that Obama has with this immigration policy is he keeps importing a bunch of people to compete for low-wage jobs. And that's one of the main reasons why middle-class people have not done well. And actually, over the last 80 years or so, they have lost, I think, $5,000 a year of income on average in constant dollars. So, you know, people are definitely feeling the pain. But I want, this is the difference between me and the establishment. The establishment wants to win the next election. I want to win the next election based on the fact that we are going to offer people limited government, personal responsibility, states' rights. That's what the difference is. They just want to win whatever it means. And the problem is that if it doesn't mean anything and you don't have any specifics behind what you're saying, what it's going to mean is, well, we want your form of welfare versus the Democrats' form of welfare. Well, I don't want any form of welfare. And I don't think our country does well with it. Lots to cover on the program today, 6:44 a.m. What will happen with our investment in a large diameter pipeline. We are finding out as oil remains low and is headed lower. Some people may have made bad bets. What is in the future for the state of Alaska and our gas line? 644 AM, KOAN, KVNT. Love to hear from you. 569-1080, Fagan and Biegel on the air. Stay tuned. .47 a.m., the biggest question which lays over our state. And it is one, oddly enough, that most people don't agree on. I don't even think the governor knows how to answer, but he will have to if we're smart. If we do our job well, the governor will be able to answer this question. Here is the question. Let me see how many words it is. 5 words. The question that I have, the most important question, and really the only question that we will need this governor to answer. What is a core service? That's it. That's the only question that needs answering. If we answer that question, then we'll know what it is our government should do. We'll know what it is that we should fund. And so that's part of the process that we're going to go through. What do we have to fund? This was the nature, by the way, of I had a lunch yesterday with somebody, a brilliant person, been around Alaska for a long period of time, multiple generations, saw various crashes, saw the state before oil, has lived all across the state, owned property all across the state, still owns property all across the state. It was our thinking at the time yesterday, and I don't mean to frighten people or whatever, but I'm going to be honest with you, that the state under $60 a barrel oil even does not support 700,000 people. a lot of whom are here because there's government benefits which sustain them. And you can think people out in the bush. You could think people who are indigent. You can think people who have whatever the government will classify as some kind of disease. I think if you have mood swings, you could get on disability. So, but Alaska is a very expensive place to live, and the state sustains many thousands, tens of thousands of people in the state of Alaska. So that's one group. Another group are people who need jobs, need an education, need to raise their families, and are looking for a place to do that. They're looking for economic opportunity. So that's another group. And the answer to the question, or the formulation of the question, is, who does Alaska want to stay? Let's say we're going to lose 50,000 people, and I don't know what the number is. Maybe it's more than that. That would be really bad. If it's only 50,000 people, we'll probably be okay over time. If it's more than 50,000 people, it's going to get rough around here. But the question the state of Alaska should be asking, this is sort of a corollary to the original question of need the governor to answer. What is a core service? Because we're going to have to pay for every service that the government offers in the end. We're going to have to pay some part of it. If the schools cost $2.1 billion, you and I, in addition to our property taxes, funding, whatever the cost of that is, $3,000-$4,000 a year. In addition to that, we're also going to have to pay the state of Alaska to operate statewide schools. The question is, what is a core service? Should we allow government monopolies? Should we allow cab rides across town? Should we have school choice? What is a core service? What do we protect the government from doing, because we're all going to have to pay? So our very generous welfare system, that may have to change. If it does, then we will see a number of people who are sustained supported and who make their living off of the state largesse. They will have to go. If we incentivize businesses to stay here and say, we want to be a very friendly place for business as much as possible to do business, for mining or for oil, for gas, whatever it is, however, then maybe the industry will stay. And so maybe we'll keep some of those 50,000 people who are going to shift from Alaska to somewhere else. Maybe we'll keep some of those people. So the two questions then, I guess, come down to this. First of all, what is a core service? What government monopolies should we sustain with our own money? Right? We could do all the work of the government. There's nothing special about the government other than maybe build roads. I don't think we could build roads. But for everything else, even building schools, I mean, let's just be honest. How did we build schools before? Before there was government-supported schools, and when communities wanted a school, what would they do? Joe and Sam and Fred, they'd all get together and say, well, where do we want the school? This looks like a good spot right here. Let's go and ask for donations of lumber and materials and everything. We'll build a school, and we'll start educating people. We'll get a school marm in here, and so on and so forth. That's the way they used to do it. Even building schools is something we could do. Building roads, maybe not. We probably have to sort of get together in a little bit larger way in order to do that and agree on what kind of roads we're going to build. Schools, not so much. So there's not a lot that government has to do. What do we want to pay government to do? What is a core service? Secondly, who do we want to stay? Aren't these big questions? We've never asked these questions before. We've never asked these questions before. 6:53 a.m., KOAN, KVNT. This in the Alaska Dispatch News. Will Barrett's oil investments be a financial disaster? Now, I realize that we are trying to figure out, how do we bridge ourselves? How do we get another generation of Alaskans to live here and to prosper, to do well? What is our future? And this large diameter gas line has been part of that planning for a while. I believe that Frank Murkowski had a window under which we could have developed the gas line gotten it done. I don't know that the deal he had with the oil companies would have got it done. I think ACEs freaked the oil companies out so much that they realized if we don't start doing something with gas, and the Point Thompson lawsuit that Governor Sean Parnell followed through on, and ended up getting a lot of concessions from Exxon in order to develop Point Thompson at the cost of $4 billion. Anyway, I think that there was a window of opportunity. I don't know if the window's closed. I mean, I don't want to go that far, but people do need to realize that the state of Alaska is going to have to invest somewhere between $10 and $20 billion. That's a lot of money. That's more money than we have in all of our bank accounts, apparently, combined. So we're going to have to go into the permanent fund in order to build this line. That may be the right thing to do. That may be just what we want to do. We may want to spend all of our permanent fund money in order to build this gas line, build the tankers in order to take it down to wherever, the Pacific Rim. And then it will become, a major return on investment over time. We still have to look at the marketplace. We still do. When we can't build something, because it's not like if you're going to sell, I don't know, cheeseburgers. And every cheeseburger you sell, you lose 20 cents. You didn't make 20 cents, you lost 20 cents. The cheese costs too much, the buns, and the price is just too low. People can't afford more than $1.50, but it costs you $1.70 to make the cheeseburger. Well, having a line and a whole bunch of cheeseburgers going down it and being shipped off to the Pacific Rim and losing 20 cents on every single one of them doesn't make you more money. It doesn't make you wealthy just because you have a lot of cash flow. I mean, heck, billions of dollars are coming in and you're losing hundreds of millions of dollars every year. We can't possibly operate a gas line at a loss. That's just a fact. We don't have that kind of money. That wouldn't be something that anyone would ever want to do. So these kinds of warning letters here, and sometimes the Alaska Dispatch News will print them, I think there's something that we have to keep an eye on and keep an ear open for. To drill or not to drill, that's the Arctic Frontiers question of the year. One of the investors is warning Troms and Finnmark against state investments in white elephants. Investing in infrastructure to facilitate fossil fuel exploration in the Barents Sea will double your trouble. He points to the fact that investments will not only be a waste of money, as no large-scale oil extraction will come, but it will also take focus away from other infrastructure investments that would be needed more. Norway is soon to announce new licenses in the Barents Sea. Meanwhile, tumbling oil price scares investors from entering the Arctic shelf. These licenses will be licenses to lose money. We'd best have a real strong check, heart check, a test. And I don't know what the answer is. I mean, think about it. We've got a lot of gas up there at $10 per 1,000 cubic feet, and I don't know that it will stay there. We would be looking at $2 trillion worth of gas on our north slope. That is an amazing, unbelievable, fantastic amount of gas. Easily able to fund virtually any project as long as you're making some money every time you sell. If you're not making money every time you sell, could be a very serious disaster. Things to think about. 569-1080 is the number. What do you think we'll do on this gas line? And will it continue under the difficult situation, the difficult financial situation the state believes in? From Walker's earlier points, I think he believes in the line and thinks that it should be built. Where will he get the money? 569-1080, Fagan and Biegel on here on KOAN and KVNT 658. 7:06 a.m. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Glen Biegel here on the air. Fagan and Biegel in the morning on KOAN and KVNT. 569-1080. Obama's State of the Union speech was yesterday, and we're covering that off and on today, as well as the legislature has begun, and covering that as well. Here is some of the previous broken promises from some of Obama's previous State of the Unions.
The multimedia marketplace.
And he's in the Caribbean, too, by the way, which is a very nice place. I'd like to vacation there at some point.
And pleased to say that the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act is now law. Over the next 2 years, this plan will save or create 3.5 million jobs. More than 90% of these jobs will be in the private sector. We have launched a housing plan that will help responsible families facing the threat of foreclosure lower their monthly pay and finance their mortgages. Thanks to our recovery plan, we will double this nation's supply of renewable energy in the next 3 years.
Right. Anyway, so what these are these are the previous falsehoods in previous State of the Union. So none of these things actually ever came to pass. Here's a question that's asked on the Fox News page by Liz Peek and Obama trying to sabotage Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential run. Well, your question probably should just already be answered. Obamacare, Obamacare, Obamacare. Thus, so that's one takeaway from his feisty State of the Union address, in which three things. First, he moved the Democrat agenda far to the left, where Hillary is not entirely comfortable. Second, he rebuffed the clear preference of voters that he work with Congress by making the cornerstone of his address proposals unacceptable to the GOP. He assured the country that our form is working. Okay. He trying to undermine Hillary. You know, my guess is that he doesn't think about that. He basically is expecting that whatever errors, mistakes, offenses do, he's not worried about that because the media. So that would be my guess, that he's not out actually trying to trash Hillary. He's taken the government where he wants the government to go and setting up the race, class, and gender issue debates as he thinks will best play out for Democrats. Let me go to the phones here, 569-1080. Talk to Joe. Joe, welcome.
Thank you, Glenn.
How are you?
Good. Hello, Dan.
Yeah. I think he's going to be back tomorrow. I really do. This is going to be good.
Yeah. Well, he was listening.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah. I've watched many presidential State of the Unions, and
do you do the drinking games, by the way?
I don't drink.
Oh, okay. All right. You could drink water. You probably would poison yourself, whatever rules you set up.
Yeah. He knows how to, President Obama knows how to put on a good speech. I mean, he can make a bad day look real good, just the way he says things. But he did say some things that I'm really concerned about. And that is the untold billions of money that's not being taxed that billionaires are taking overseas and cheating the little guy out of having to pay more.
Well, why didn't the Democrats fix that when the Democrats were running the Democrat House and the Democrat Senate and the Democrat presidency, and they had Democrat supermajorities in every single one? If the Democrats wanted to fix that, then why didn't the Democrats do that?
Because the Republican-controlled House won't have anything to do with it.
No, the Democrats ran everything. That's what I'm trying to say, Joe.
And Mitch McConnell, he of the Senate, he doesn't want to do anything about it.
Well, I don't know that that's true. And here's what my guess is, Joe. If I had to take a guess, there's nothing we can do.
Well, there is something we can, because
are we going to kick them out, revoke their citizenship? I mean, people are allowed to do things you don't like. You know.
Well, we're talking about people are like Bernie Madoff, And what we do is we take him and we seize him and we give him about 13,000.
I don't even know. He's not even a citizen of this country. I think he's a Swiss citizen, isn't he? Oh, Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff, the guy from here. Well, we put him in jail for hundreds of years. Wait. Are you talking about Bernie Madoff or the guy from
the
Soros?
Guy that took everybody's money and ran.
Yeah. Well, we are putting him in jail. But so what do you want more to do?
These other billionaires, millionaires, and super rich
so
people
Soros. Let's start with Soros.
From all of us, you, Dan, Brian, are taking the money away from all of us.
How do they do that? What's the method by which they, quote, take all the money from all of us?
Every which way but loose. But they take the money and they put it in Swiss banks, and they don't pay their taxes on it.
Well, I mean,
it's a loophole, Glenn.
What is the loophole exactly? So because I really would like to fix these loopholes, since the Democrats don't seem to want to do it when they have.
Well, I can't break it down any more than the president already has. But it was a wonderful speech. President Obama knows how to. I'm telling you. He even made the girls cry again.
No, he's so sweet. I love that guy. He's almost as good as Biegel. Did you enjoy Biegel coming back into town, by the way? And that it's just a travesty that we don't have enough police and fire that he increased their cost 40%.
Is he thinking about running?
No, he's thinking about looking at the look on my face. That's all he thinks about. He gets up in the morning and goes, you know what? I wonder if I told people I might run for mayor, what would the look on Glen's face be?
I think we need more police, but, firemen, it doesn't seem like there's that many fires anymore, and that a lot of them don't see any action.
Joe, you hate firemen. I don't understand why you hate firemen. Why do you hate firemen?
I don't hate firemen.
Oh, please. Here we go.
I used to
it's
be
ridiculous.
a fireman.
Just because they don't go out and fight fires doesn't mean we shouldn't have more firemen, because Biegel says we should, and the Republicans are keeping good, decent firemen off the job.
I saved 5 lives, never got paid a dime. Nice celebration for me.
Well, that was
awesome.
Down
at Moose Pass in the old days.
Wow. Well, look, Joe, you know what real public service is, and that's because you're a good man. Nowadays, look, our firemen get paid somewhere on the order of 140, 145 grand a year in paying benefits on average.
That benefits thing, I don't know if that's really should be. Benefits aren't even used. How much are they getting paid in money?
About 100 grand. Their benefits are about 40, 100 to 105.
Compared to the other jobs in town here, I don't know that is a whole lot of money.
Well, it's a whole lot of money for a whole lot of people.
No, I heard it was 200 or 300,000 paying benefits they were getting, but
oh no, those are the top tier dudes. Yeah, there are a whole bunch of people in the fire department who do get paid high salaries, but no, you're looking at the average. You're looking somewhere between 140, 145.
Okay, well, the gist of my call was to praise Obama about the good speech and the economy that's doing is good or better than it was when Ronald Reagan was president.
What?
And
you are smoking something serious.
They're saying that on the stuff today.
All right, I love it. Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. 7:14 a.m. KOAN KVNT Fagan Inberg. Give us a call 569-1080. 7:17 a.m. 569-1080, 569-1080. Glen Biegel in here for the day. And Dan will be back in the mañana. Some big news coming up for me later today or tomorrow, which I cannot reveal quite yet. Lobbyists have rigged the tax code with loopholes that let some corporations pay nothing while others pay full freight. Why am I hearing GE in my ear? GE. Well, they're your lobbyists. It's your tax code, and they are not paying money because they're doing things that you like making windmills and stuff. This year, we have an opportunity to change that. Let's close loopholes. So we stop rewarding companies that keep profit, reward those that invest in America. Why didn't you do this already? You had every opportunity. It's not that easy. Not that easy. Well, these are the kind of words that people get to throw around. That's why nobody pays attention to these things anymore. If it were that easy, but you can't. We can do. We don't want to do things like lower the corporate tax. So those are the kind of things that we don't want to do. I think we have one of the highest corporate taxes in the world, and that's one of the reasons why people expatriate or corporations expatriate money as much as they do. I wonder if there's a reference to billionaires, because that's the other thing that Joe was talking about. Let's see if I have billionaires. No, I don't think there's any. There's no reference to billionaires in the speech, which is good. Usually, you don't want to bring out your big guns. I don't know. Yeah, there's race, class, gender. These are the battle lines on the left all the time, not liberty and tyranny. Those on the right. And admittedly, the Republicans are not very good stewards of liberty and tyranny. They're kind of happy with it as long as it's their version of tyranny. I'm kind of down on Republicans. Have you noticed that, Brian? I don't know why. They don't do a lot for me because they don't do a lot for me.
Maybe they underinflated things.
They underinflated things. That is exactly the problem.
Yep.
Well, actually, that's the solution. We just found out that the Patriots actually were underinflating their balls, their balls.
Football.
Yeah, and what I'm confused about is for the Patriots, apparently the Patriots were playing the Colts. The Patriots beat the Colts by 38 points, including 3 running touchdowns. And somebody had the idea that, well, the lighter footballs, because they did not have as much air in them, were much easier to carry a line. And that could have been the reason for 21 points and touchdowns.
I didn't know a pound of air pressure weighed anything.
It does. It does. It actually does.
And you can notice it?
No, probably not. I mean, it would be an ounce, in a whole football if it was underinflated versus.
And say if it was raining, the little water and make it heavier.
That's true. That could be a problem as well.
So normally they're playing with footballs that are too heavy, depending on the weather. So what do you do then?
It's just ridiculous. Apparently, though, the Patriots do have underinflated footballs, and this causes them to score 38 points per game. My question, of course, is if it's true and underinflating a football does give you 38 points more per game, why doesn't everybody do this? Who made up the rule that we have to overinflate footballs? Who's the idiot who runs football?
We don't like all this scoring.
Yeah, what do we want scoring for? Why do we want the players to actually be able to catch the ball? That's ridiculous. I want to hyperinflate these footballs right now.
It must be the refs. They didn't want to have to run back and forth and do all that extra work.
Well, my guess is they're thinking, okay, well, we need to keep the game even. No, that's not the purpose of this, you dummies. This doesn't make any sense. If a quarterback likes to throw a football, however the football is configured, as long as it's a football and the same kind of ball that the other player is playing with, they should be able to choose whatever format of football they like, whatever pressure they like. Why wouldn't they? If they could score 3 more touchdowns in a game because they play with a football in a configuration that they like, why Who the heck made that stupid rule? I'm just shocked that it's this. This is really where we are. Whoever made the rule needs to be a plank. We do need to charge the New England Patriots. I figure we ought to charge them, I don't know, around $18 trillion. We'll pay off the national debt. They'll be punished. This will be good. And then we can get on with playing football with balls, however the stinking quarterback wants them inflated.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll be watching them extra careful at the Super Bowl.
No, here's what I wonder, whether or not the fans will rise up and say, if our quarterback likes the football to be inflated however he wants it inflated, and you don't inflate it to that, it's your freaking problem, you idiot ref, not your game. You're just there as an official. Do you understand that? We like watching football. We pay for this football. We go and watch the game. We're paying for your salary, too. You can't tell us how we're going to inflate a football, period, end of story. And each quarterback can choose whether or not they want hyperinflated footballs like you do or normally inflated footballs like they want. That's our rule.
Well, what's weird is they use different ones for kicking or, during a kicking game or during the regular game. So they'll change out different inflated balls anyway.
Well, here's my view is whatever the team who's playing with a football wants, that's what they're entitled to have, period. That there shouldn't be any rule, do it however they want, that it's up to them to do this.
Well, and the refs were holding the ball during the game, and nobody could tell.
I don't think they were underinflated
Doesn't
too
feel
much,
right,
probably 3 or 4 pounds.
Yeah, when I'm
Square
carrying
inch.
my gun, I can tell you if there's a loaded clip or not loaded clip in the gun.
That's true. No, here is there. Of course, always have to be limitations. You can never just because if you're going to have an onside kick, they might 1 pound per square inch, so it was like a piece of silly putty or something weird.
Yeah, and then they put Vaseline on it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there do still have to be rules, but the rule can't be that the refs get to tell you that you have to hyperinflate the football to the point where the quarterback is not very good at throwing it. If that's the rule that the refs want to implement, then the fans of football, everyone in the country, in other words, need to rise up, chuck the refs out, have them walk the plank. We get new refs in who say, you like lower inflated footballs, and God bless you. You're the quarterback. This is your team. This is your game. And if you think you could score more points with this football, let's do it.
Are there any Korea?
Oh, brother. A couple of things came out today. Walker's transition committees released their recommendations. And listen to this, a $50 million reduction to the current fiscal year's budget, which ends in June, the end of June, which is essentially, how do I say this? Nothing. And then a $500 million cut to next year's budget, which means that they want to cut and still have a $3 billion budget deficit. If oil stays, it's $3.5 billion. I think it's $60 a barrel. If it falls down below $60 a barrel, of course, it's going to be much worse than that. So these were not serious. They are not serious, and they are not the basis upon which people should make recommendations. I was interested in the education one, which I'm going to take a closer look at, but Andrew Halcrow was on that. I think we might have the post of the year. The Facebook post of the year was done by none other than Brad Keithley. Listen to this. I got to repost this on my Facebook page. After 2 years serving together on the House Sustainable Education Task Force, quote, trust isn't the word I would associate with the newest Anchorage mayoral candidate, i.e. Andrew Halcrow. Listen to this. Arrogant, petulant, dismissive, thought he was the smartest man in the room, but wasn't, most disappointing because Here's the way he says it. Most disappointingly, for a task force with the word sustainable in the title, spending focused. This is the teachers union candidate. Those are the words that come to mind first, he continues, Brad Keithley here writing about Andrew Halcrow. Alaska is entering a new era where it needs to re-envision government at all levels and adapt to new reduced revenue levels. This isn't a leader for that era. Facebook post of the year. I am so looking forward to this mayoral debate. We have the most stark examples of different people running for office that we will ever have, with one conservative running. One. Only one. Only Amy Domboski. We've got the establishment, right? We got Dan Coffey. We got the teachers union candidate. That'll be Andrew Halcrow. You're going to have some Democrat. It would probably be LV Gray Jackson or something, or Dick Cheney. I mean, we're going to have a lot of fun here. This is going to be a really, really wild ride. 7:28 a.m., KOAN, and KVNT. You got to go take a look at this Brad Keithley post. This is a man who worked closely with Andrew Halcrow for 2 years. A. B. He is not somebody who's trying to make friends in politics. He's not somebody who's trying to kowtow to anyone. So he gets to say what he wants to say. And he came out with the most blistering and honest view of exactly what Andrew Halcrow did for the House Sustainable Education Task Force and the state of Alaska. Brutal, I would say, is a word that comes to mind, but clear thinking. And I think honest. I mean, that is the takeaway that I have. It's kind of a new day in politics. And Brad Keithley is ushering some of that new day in. KOAN, KVNT, 7:29 a.m. Love to hear from you. 569-1080, 569-1080. We also stream live at danfagan.us. Stay tuned. 7:35 a.m. KOAN KVNT. Love to hear from you here on the Fagan and Biegel Show. I'm in today, and it's a wonderful day. It could be a wonderful day. It's a cold day, and we're going to head into negative digits finally.
Global cooling.
Global cooling. Hallelujah.
I know. I've been
Who
waiting.
knows how many polar bears could have died had we not gone back to into negative territory.
Yep.
So we're saving polar bears one cold day at a time.
Thank you, Mother Nature.
Thank you, Mother Nature. You're so wonderful. We don't deserve you.
No.
We should stop slapping you across the face. That's what the Pope said that we're doing
Oh, wow.
with our abuse of the environment. We're slapping Mother Nature across the face. What would it sound like if you slapped Mother Nature across the face? Hold on. Mother Nature, take that. I'll slap you across the face.
If you did it in the woods, would anybody hear it?
Well, Mother Nature would probably kick your butt in the woods.
Widowmaker.
she'd have a couple of bears going, take you out. Air Roofing is the best in the business. If you are thinking of having your roof redone, if it's that time, waiting after your roof is essentially, on its last legs.
When the wind blows it off of your house.
Doesn't do you any good. Once there's rot up there, once shingles are missing and you have some of these problems, it could be causing thousands and thousands of dollars of damage inside your house in addition to your roof. So the cost of your roof will also be enhanced by the cost of having to replace things inside your house. Don't let that happen to you. And that is because a free re-roofing estimate is but a call away. They will walk across your roof, and these guys are so good, they can basically tell what's going on. If they take a walk across your roof, they'll know whether or not it's that time for you. 345-5555, Earhart Roofing. When you think roofing, think Earhart, EARHART, online at earhartroofing.com. The State of the Union has been given, and it was a combative State of the Union and an embarrassing one for the president once again. The old saws, the left-wing saws of class warfare and redistribution of wealth. Number one, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5 on his mind. The response was from Iowa's Senator Ernst. And this is how My Way News puts it. Republicans controlling Congress will focus on people's concerns about jobs. That is called immigration. And health care. That is called the failure of Obama country away from President Obama's failed policies. That is known as Wall Street cash. The newly minted senator, those are all my comments, by the way. I'm translating people because what like concerns about jobs, what can the government do about our immigration policies? And it could allow our wages to rise. What can it do about health care? Well, putting more people in Medicaid on healthcare welfare. You know what they should do? The most important thing I think they could do for healthcare, give a private insurer's Bill of Rights, where they say you're not allowed to transfer money from the privately insured to somebody else. Just because you have money and other people want your money, this is not some redistribution system. Your healthcare payments are not redistribution methods to give other people your money. To pay 3 privately insured what it would cost for a procedure so somebody else or 2 other people can get it free. That's not fair.
I'd like to see a loyalty program where you have a card and you could win free services whenever you go in to get some service. They run your card. It's like the movies. You add up, you get free popcorn.
Like a free that?
Yeah, and maybe you can give it to a friend.
A free lobotomy.
Yeah.
I definitely think we ought to be giving those out all the time.
Hey, you want a free back surgery? Oh, well, I got a friend who needs it. You can give it to him.
I like that.
Yeah, lottery.
Very nice.
I'm telling you, people have a chance to win something. They'll play.
Let me go to the phones here. 569-1080. Fagan and Biegel again. KVNT 740 AM. Robert, welcome.
Hey, good morning. 3 points about the speech.
Mm-hmm. Good.
How much for the health care everyone's signed up for? He claimed there's a lot more people with health care. He made it mandatory, of course.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're actually will be punished if you don't follow what is now the law and go get health care. Yeah, I don't know why you get credit for that. Nobody can afford to go to the doctor anyway. That's the problem most people are having.
And the other one, Obama College. We already have Obamacare, and that's costing us double, and it's not even working right. Are we going to let him get away with Obama College?
Wow. Yeah, it's the redistribution of other people's money. I have a theory. This is the way we used to run the country, Robert, that you paid for things that you wanted, you worked hard for them, and we had a country that was fair enough and had a large enough middle class so that almost everyone could afford to work hard for the things that they wanted, like college.
Yeah, and sooner or later, you could achieve your goal.
Yeah.
You may not, but you would actually get something for working hard. You'd get some kind of income.
But Robert, the way things are working out now, going to college can cost $100,000.
Oh yeah.
I mean, who the heck dollars to go off to a university anymore? Rich people, I guess.
Well, the banks do, and then your kids aren't old enough, but my kids.
Oh no, I got one in college.
Money. So,
and are your kids out of college now?
Very big debts. Yeah.
Were they able to pay it off? Because I know college eventually
Glen.
usually does. They didn't.
No, this is years from now they'll be able to pay it off.
Oh,
they have to get there. They haven't even gotten to their careers. Like probably more than half of the college kids in our country are still waiting to get into a career that they went to school for, so they can start paying the bills.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then the third thing, the military. He got a big applause about supporting the military. He would not bring up someone like Chris Kyle or Rob O'Neill that shot Osama in the head. He would never bring those people up on his speech.
No, and he never will. Look at the attitudes and fancy words toward the military. The military has sort of figured Obama out, though, right?
Well, yeah, they kind of know that, but and I feel sorry for the kids that might be going into the military at this point. I would recommend that kids would wait till the next president and see how they get. Because the people in the military, I know they're saying they're getting their medical benefits cut and their pay is being cut and everything. And it's not really it used to be not so good to be in the military as far as pay wise, but it's worse now.
Well, I know that it's really good in the military because they want to serve.
Yes.
And to to cheapen that because we have a president who is not respectful to them and doesn't understand them and doesn't understand what they're for, that makes it very difficult. I mean, it really plays on a lot of people's heartstrings for what they think is the right thing to do, but then they question whether or not they can support the country under the auspices of this president. Isn't that sad?
Right, and this other don't shoot first thing. How can anybody get into the military knowing that they may be told you can't shoot first until you're getting bullets flung at you?
Yeah. It's a dangerous world. It is a painful world. We are not well suited to do nation building, by the way, which is one of the things I hope we get out of the business of.
Yeah. Well, and what was the thing? Obama wanted permission to go after ISIS. Don't we already have that?
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure we do.
I think he said they were on the run.
Yeah, they're on the run. You didn't know that, Robert? Apparently, they don't know that. Can we send out a memo to them? Brian, would you get a memo ready? Just say, ISIS, dear ISIS, we're sorry to hear you're on the run.
We'll send them a video.
Please don't carry scissors while you're running because that could be really dangerous. Good luck and take care.
And that was a speech about nothing. I had to shut it off halfway through.
You made it all the way halfway. Look,
Yes.
You are a strong person. That's one of the reasons why you're so valuable to us here, Robert. I appreciate you calling.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Yeah, to make it halfway through that speech, that is truly impressive. That is not something that the average normal person would be able to do, and it just speaks to Robert's character and that he loves politics probably more than a lot of people. Thanks so much for calling. Love to hear from you. 569-1080, 744 AM. Lawmakers want to do something which is the greatest news ever, but they need to hear from us. The most important thing we could get the legislature to do is to meet in their legislative session in Anchorage and not in Juneau. It will transform and change the state of Alaska. It will change our future. How can we get that to happen? That is a big question on my mind. 744 AM, KOAN, KVNT, 569, 1080. .47 AM, KOAN, KVNT, Hump Day Wednesday. And so if you are in the midst of getting through the week, I wish you well. You've made it halfway. Or you will have made it halfway by what, noon today? What's the official? 1 o'clock today.
I suppose.
I don't know. After this show, I consider I consider. Yeah, that was some and that very vague reference. You were telling me that some camel was walking through
the camel commercial. For Geico, they walk around and it's a camel saying, "Guess what day it is?" You know, and he's got this funny voice. And now there's a new one where people are at the zoo taunting all the camels. Guess what day it is? Hump day.
Hump day.
And they're like, "It's not even Wednesday."
Dummy. Specialty Truck and Auto is somebody who can get you over hump day. If you've got a problem with your car, it's just the place to go. These are folks who are going to do what's needed and not do any more. ASE certified technicians and a very trustworthy source of information. Specialty Truck and Auto, specialtytruckandauto.com, 349-1637, and across from the Long Branch Saloon on Abbott. Go check out Keith Monternock and his team there. Is the place to take your vehicle. We are being told that the footballs are responsible for a 37-point advantage by the Patriots over the Colts. So this is look, this is new news. This is very, very important. And my takeaway from it is we need to fire all the refs because anybody responsible for creating a 38-point deficit by not having balls that the quarterback likes to throw, they need to be fired immediately.
They've ruined the game.
Drawn and quartered. Can you imagine a referee being able to create a 38-point deficit by screwing around with the balls and hyperinflating them? My hands aren't quite big enough to throw this ball. Well, who do you think you are? You're the stupid quarterback. What do we pay you? $15 million a year? Stupid dummy. We're not going to inflate the balls to the level you want. We're going to inflate the balls to the level we want. Don't you understand that?
Make the balls bigger so that only giant people can play.
Exactly. This has to change. I mean, I agree that there have to be rules. You can't just have a limp football out there that nobody can, that gives you some kind of weird advantage. We're still talking about playing football. Whatever level the footballs are inflated to, I don't understand why this is a rule. I don't understand why who let the refs give us these kind of crazy rules. Got to stop. An endless loop they talk about here in the Alaska Dispatch News. Homeless, alcoholic, and dependent on Anchorage's fraying and expensive safety net. This is the reality of life on the streets in Anchorage. I've been trying to convince people, by the way, that the chronic inebriate problem that is downtown and that is being enabled by some of the social service programs, if they weren't there, the chronic inebriates wouldn't be there. Now, there are several homeless camps around town, and these are basically people who just don't want to pay a mortgage and don't mind living in the cold in a tent. So that's a different problem, and I want to separate those two things. And then there's the third problem, which is the one that I think most people who are decent want to try and help make sure turns out well. And those are mostly people with families or older people who are about to lose their home or can't pay for their own food because they're having to juggle bills, maybe medical bills or whatever, and they can't figure out how to pay all of them all at the same time. So they're about to lose their house. They can't put food on their table. Their kids are going hungry, whatever it is. That's the things that people want to fix. Chronic inebriates, and I think they're starting to get a lot closer to the answer here, Alaska today. An endless loop: homeless on purpose, alcoholic on purpose, and dependent on Anchorage's fraying and expensive safety net. You want to know, somebody came in and they opened my eyes about this. Why we have the Red Nose Inn. I don't remember, the Carluck Manor, something like that. I don't remember what the name. But basically, they want people to stop drinking, but they're not going to require that they stop drinking. Well, what is that? I mean, honestly, let's just be honest. That's permission. That's permission. That's permission. You know, you got your son and his girlfriend, and they come over and they're sleeping in the same room. Now, son, I don't want you to be fooling around in the biblical sense here. You know, I'm not going to tell you that you can't, but I don't want you to, and you can sleep in the same room. Yeah, right. Please. That is permission. Now, why would we give permission for people to keep drinking? Causes this. It comes from this movement that came out of Seattle and Portland, some other left-wing cities. Home first. First, we give people a home, and then we figure out whatever their problems are. I don't think it's very successful. It does clean up the streets. So we do get a benefit from it, and we don't have to watch people. This is the deep, dark secret. There are two deep, dark secrets here. Number one is it's cheaper. Anchorage is fraying an expensive safety net. That's what they're talking about in this article. It's too expensive for us to leave these people on the streets. They drink themselves stupid. They start having seizures because they've got type 2 diabetes from drinking all this and eating horrible food. And then we have to go pick them up 100 times a year in order to save their lives and take them to various detox centers, all of this costing millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. So it gives us a benefit right off the bat. We don't have to look at it. And we're not going to solve their problems. These people don't want us to solve their problems. They want to drink themselves to death. And that's what they're doing. So it's cheaper, and it takes them off the street. Now, you can also make the argument it might even be safer for other people. These people are still going to drink themselves to death. You've just given them permission in a nice, warm place to be able to drink. So that's the reality of it, is we don't know what to do. We've enabled these people for such a long period of time that they've created their own sort of social structure with hundreds and hundreds of people coming here from out in the bush and deciding, hey, these people get to drink alcohol all day. They get 3 squares a day. They can sleep inside, and they can still do whatever they want, and they never have to go to work. That doesn't sound so bad to me. Now, you would say to me, well, that's just a horrible thing to say, Glenn. Why do you think they're making this decision? I'm not trying to shade anything. I'm not trying to say what you and I would do, what we want them to do, what their parents want them to do, or what their children want them to do. What they're doing, the decision they've made, makes perfect sense to them when they're making it. They're addicted. They've got problems. And so our response was a very sad one, but I guess a very rational one. Okay. If you are not going to fix your life, and you don't want to fix your life, if the problems which we don't want you to have, you want to have, we're going to give you a place to drink yourself to death. We can't afford to keep picking you up 100 times a year and take you down to the hospital. That is the hard truth. Now, is it the right thing to do? I don't know that there is a right thing to do. I got to be quite honest with you. I mean, they asked me, was his name Kevin Peterson, who was in here? He asked me, it was Kevin or Kelly, I don't remember which one. And he's involved with these groups, and he's involved with people. I say, well, Glenn, what do you want to happen? What do you think should happen to these people who are on the street? Honest question. I gave him an honest answer. I said, well, you can't fix people's problems if they don't want their problems fixed and if they don't think they have a problem. Just because they don't live like you and me. You know, if they say, well, we want to fix your drinking problem, they'll say, I don't have a drinking problem. Because you think I have a problem, that's your problem. Okay, you can't fix that. We'll just take that as granted. Got to understand some of these people's problems, unless we take away their safety net, are not going to get fixed. So that might be one thing you do, safety net for 1 month a year. How about that? This is a new idea. So here's the suggestion that I had for him. You're 1 week sober, we'll take you in. You're 1 month sober, we'll give you training. You're 3 months sober, we'll help you find a job. This is called walking with somebody who's trying to help you. They can't carry you because you'll just walk back to the bottle as soon as you get off their back, and they can't carry everybody. So that's the reality of the situation, but that was my suggestion. You're 1 week sober, we'll take you in. You're 1 month sober, we'll give you a job. We'll help you get a job. That's my suggestion. I don't know what else is better. Maybe shutting down social services 1 month a year during the summertime where people actually have to go out. And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. We enable them, and it is expensive, and we can't continue it. 569-1080, 7:58 a.m., KOAN, KVNT on the air. I'll be in with you till 9. Give me a call. 8:06 a.m. KOAN KVNT. I think I missed the hand signal there, Brian. And then and I was kept looking for one and looking for one.
Yeah, well, the music's usually a signal as well.
Usually, yeah. Usually there are several signals. I will miss 99% of them. And then the coming in and thwacking me on the head is like the last one that I have to be able to help me understand. Northern Gas Pipelines is a blog that is regularly updated by Dave Harbour, who has been a fixture in economics and understanding oil and gas development in the state of Alaska. And we're going to hear from him in a little while about what is the investment climate for the state of Alaska look like? What can we expect? What should we be hoping for from the legislature? I mean, honestly, when you think about it, these are people who are regular, everyday, average people. They just happen to be elected to the legislature. Like, what do you know about cutting $3.5 billion out of a state budget? How do is it federal funds you want to protect? What are we required to spend money on? What is a core service? You talk about a simple question with a very, very difficult answer, and an answer that most people, particularly on the right and the left, will answer differently. What is a core service? What should we fund? Because whatever we decide as a core service, we're going to have to pay for part of. And in the end, we're going to be making probably one of the most momentous decisions in Alaska's history. I expect there to be fewer people in Alaska. We actually have lost population already. Fairbanks has lost population. Anchorage grew by 600. Many of the smaller towns and places around Alaska are shrinking as well. We're going to lose population in this process, I'm guessing. The question is, which populations do we want to lose? Who do we want to protect? What is a core service? What does government have to do, and what are we willing to pay for? These are big questions, and they're not normal questions. They're not questions that a legislature normally has to answer. The reason we're having to answer them is the downturn in oil is not some temporary thing. They have determined one very, very important thing in Saudi Arabia. If they allow for oil to remain at $100 a barrel, there is no outcompeting the United States of America, which is now currently, shockingly, the largest oil producer in the world. That was not the case in the past. Not even close. But now we are. Not only are we the largest oil producer, but if we are able to produce our shale oil and gas, if they keep it above $60, $70, $80 a barrel, if that's where the price of oil sits, we might be able to produce all the oil that the entire world needs. Who knows? We certainly could double what 20 million barrels a day, twice what the next largest producer makes, without breaking a sweat. And there's lots and lots and lots of oil out there in these shale deposits. Think tar sands, basically. But the tar sands are on the surface of the earth, and the shale oil is a little bit down below the surface of the earth. That basically is what we're talking about. And we all know that the tar sands is this enormous 80 billion, I think, barrels of oil deposit in Canada. That as long as the price per barrel of oil is above $60, $70, $80 a barrel, it's producible. You can clean it. You can, wash it. You can get it to work. If it's below that, if it's at $50 a barrel, no tar sands. One of your competitors just dropped out of the mix. Some of the shale oil and gas can be produced at $80 a barrel. Oh, all of it can be produced at 80. Some of it can be produced at 60. Very little of it can be produced at 60 or 70. So all of it can be produced at 80, most of it at 70, very little of it at 60. That's really what we're looking at. We just crossed, I think, $50 a barrel. If you remember way, way back, way back 4 months ago, oil was at like $110 a barrel. 110. And we just crossed 50. Well, there's nobody who knows more about what it takes to build pipelines and how the oil industry works than Dave Harbour. 569-1080 is the number. And so we look forward to talking to him. It turns out that the transition committee suggested that we cut a mere $500 million out of state spending, which means that you and I would be on the hook for $3 billion in welfare payments. How much have you got? So let's see. $3 billion spread across 700,000 people is $4,000 for every man, woman, and child. That is what the transition teams are suggesting. That's for every man, woman, and child. That's for every man, woman, and child. First of all, you can drop half the state out because whatever kind of tax we implement, they're probably going to be protected from it unless it's a tax on your dividend. So now we're talking about $8,000 for every man, woman, and child if half the people in the state of Alaska don't pay it. We can't. I mean, first of all, there's 11 people in my family, soon to be 10. I'm marrying off one of my daughters. Praise be to God. Is that okay? Does that sound bad?
Well, yeah, she's still in your family, and you gained another one.
No. It doesn't work that way.
It's like, here, take her. Thank you.
Out. Get out. Go.
Gotcha.
They're making a new family. No, they probably will be with us and still, because it's expensive to get a house.
You'll be Grandpa Glen.
We got a mother-in-law apartment, and I might be staying with us down there for a year while they save up to try and figure out how to afford a house. But no one is going to be able to afford $8,000 for every man, woman, and child. Nobody. You may be looking at $25,000 for a family of 3, and the average income for the whole state of Alaska is only $45,000 per family. Hello. That's what the transition team suggested. I just want to put this in real terms for people so that you can understand if we don't decide what a core service is. In other words, what we cannot get along with if the government does not do. You and I are going to pick up the bill for every dollar that government spends. This is the battle of the century. This is the question of our time. How much government can we do without? And I don't know what the answer to that is, but I know that it will lead to one big answer, and that is who stays in the state of Alaska. Is it welfare recipients that we want to keep here? Is our private industry one we want to keep here? Big questions, big answers. 8:14 a.m. KOAN, KVNT. Love to hear from you here on the Dan Fagan Glen Biegel program. Stay tuned. 8:17 a.m. KOAN KVNT 569-1080 is the number. 569-1080. Here is the view from the left. His name is Glen, and he is a Democrat, i.e. a person who believes that good things come from government. Your left-wing tendencies will be defined by, do you think government only does good things? Okay, this is the first measure. Conservatives do not believe that government only does good things, that many things the government does are harmful to the people that they do them for, and that the longer that they do them, the more harmful they are. So that's the conservatives' position. Does government do good things? Does government only do good things? Okay. Well, you could be a left-winger and say, okay, the government, all the things that the government decides to do are all good things. Government monopoly of schools, always a good thing. We don't like monopolies for your car or for anything else, but we do like this government monopoly. Okay, you're moving more and more to the left. This is how you determine whether or not you're a true left-winger. The only thing good that's done in this world is done by government. That's the true test. That is the test of the true believer. And I don't know how many people are really like that. Look, there are a lot of people out there who do not believe in religion. They do not believe in personal charity. They don't believe in the personal human-to-human interaction or a person doing good things for the YMCA or other things. They think government should feed people. Government should house people. Government should clothe people. Government should educate people. Government should give people a retirement. Government should take care of you when you're young. Government should take care of you when you're old. Government, 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 government. The only group that can be counted on to do good things is government. And I'll tell you, that group of people is growing. Now, we're going to find out here where Garen Tar is on this
And just
scale.
found out Guarantar is female.
Guarantar. Oh, sorry about that. We are familiar with saying penny wise and pound foolish, but we would do well to heed this advice this legislative session. Again, every single thing that they decide is a core service of government, you personally will be paying for. No one else. There's no oil money out there that they're going to be able to get to cover our state budget. You will be paying for this, for a state bureaucrat to do your charity work. I just want you to understand that. We're done with all the fun and all the games. We're deciding who's going to stay in the state of Alaska. Is it going to be private sector employed people? Is it going to be public sector welfare people? That's what we're deciding. Guarantar here is going to help us walk through how she will solve this. The number one responsibility of government is to create an effective and realistic budget. I'm thinking the number one function of government is to spend within their means. That's what I think. Maybe that's what she's saying. Past budgets have all too often reflected the whims of parochial interests without vetting whether spending was both effective and within our means. I love this. It's like they forget that they were in charge of the Senate and they would not hear a single bill by the House. I think they heard 23 bills an entire session. Nobody had ever seen that before. That was when Hollis French was running the Senate. No one had ever seen a government as dysfunctional as when the Senate was run by the Democrats and the House the Republicans controlled the House. No one had ever seen it. God willing, we'll never see it again. So apparently, Guarantar, a woman, by the way, is forgetting that when the Democrats ran things, that's when the budgets exploded. That's when, I think, as Stevens out of Kodiak said, this was the most cordial and easy legislative session I have ever been a part of. They spent $12 billion. They spent more money than we'd ever seen before. All right. With declining oil revenues, we are due to seriously overhaul our attitude toward budgeting. We need a more realistic, strategic, or what I call forward-thinking approach. Forward-thinking budgeting means investing your money to reduce our most costly social problems. When we address these problems strategically, we reduce future spending on these needs and create long-term savings. I think she's going to tell us that she's for private school and private vouchers. Is that possible that she could be heading in that direction since we have a much greater success rate with private schooling and school choice than we do with public schools? Let's see. Forward-thinking budgeting means ending appropriations for projects we can't afford to buy or maintain. Public school buildings. So now she's against both capital spending. She's probably going to cut to 70%. I'm very interested to see where she's going with this. When we stick to realistic capital projects today, we keep future budgets to a reasonable scale. This goes to where Dan is talking about, by the way. Democrats cannot stand capital spending. They love the operating budget. Their people, right, their public employee unions, which fund their campaigns, versus the capital spending folks, which fund Republican campaigns largely. I mean, and that's split much closer to 50-50. It boils down to smart spending today, she continues, to prevent future costs and reduce the size of future budgets. Alaska ranks high nationally for social ills. That's because we have the largest amount of socialized spending, by the way. Can people not understand the relationship that we're talking about here? If a bureaucrat gives you a credit card, that leads to you doing the wrong things. If you have a job and have to work 12 or 14 hours a day, you end up being a very responsible person, even if you don't make much money, because life means something to you. I don't know whether Garantar understands this relationship between you getting money from a bureaucrat, the state spending money, and the harms that it creates. This gets to that understanding that we have. Does the government only do good things? Do good things always come from government? And is the only person we can count on to do good things the government? We're still trying to find out where she is. She's moving more and more to the left here. Alaska ranks social ills and lags behind for education. Well, we lag behind for education, but not on education spending, by the way. This hits us hard, both current and future budgets, while threatening Alaska families. Alaska has the nation's highest rate of child abuse. Alaska's rape rate is 3 times the national average, with 37% of Alaska women having experienced sexual assault. I think that's a misstatement of the statistic. I think that is sexual danger or some sexual harassment was included in that. Suicide is our highest cause of violent death outside of accidents, and alcohol is a factor in over half of Alaskan suicides. Don't fund them anymore. You know how fast their problems will go away if we don't fund them? Basically the next day, because once there's no more money for the alcohol, your problems start getting solved the next day. These social ills quickly mirror as budget ills. All good things come from the government. Okay, now she's heading to left-wingville. You get to pay for every single one of these things she wants to fund, by the way. You get to pay for them. You are going to pay $8,000 for every man, woman, and child if you're a person who has an income in the state of Alaska. You. A few examples follow. A 2012 McDowell Group report found that Alaska's economic cost for alcohol and drug abuse was over $1.2 billion. When our kids fall behind, they are less able to maintain jobs and more likely to require government assistance again. She measures everything by what the government does or doesn't do. It is the strangest thing. Women who have experienced domestic violence are overwhelmingly more likely to suffer strokes and heart attacks, blah, 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 blah. So look, it's a sad, sad story. And what we need to do is we need to have more government spending. We need to have more government outreach. We need to have more government control. We need to have more government, and our priorities need to be government. Government and education, done it, did it, spent on it, expended all of our cash on it. $2.1 billion is what we spend on education right now. That is $17,000 for every person in the education system. I don't know how we can spend more. Can we? I mean, is it even possible? Let's see if we've got Dave Harbor here finally on the phone. Dave.
It's been quite an experience this morning, hasn't it?
Well, I guess so. I think with the changes to all of the different carriers that are coming to Alaska, we have some very difficult times just sort of matching everything
Oh
up.
no, this was my fault. I happened to be calling you from a village in Ecuador via Skype, and it didn't work. So then I reverted to the actual cell phone. So here we are.
Well, I'm glad to have you on. Let me give a quick introduction. We're gonna keep you over the next break. Former chairman of the Regulatory Commission of Alaska. He was commissioner, served as vice chairman of the Gas Committee for the National Association of Regulatory Utility Commissioners, former chairman of the Anchorage Chamber of Commerce, Anchorage Downtown Partnership, and the Alaska Council on Economic Education, former president of the Alaska Press Club, on and on and on and on. One of the most qualified people we ever have the privilege to talk to, and he is also the creator and writer for northerngaspipelines.com. And I'm looking forward to discussing with you where we are, where we're headed, what will oil prices do in your opinion, and what does that mean for the state of Alaska, our investment climate, and many other things. Are we good on that? You ready for that conversation?
Anytime, any place.
All right, good. So Dave Harbor is with us. I'm going to put him back on hold here, and I'd love to, if you have questions for Dave, I'd love to talk to you as well. 569-1080 is the number. You're listening to KOAN and KVNT, Fagan and Biegel on in the morning, and we are coming up here on 8:30. It's 8:29 a.m. Big news that I have to announce here in the next day or two, so keep your ears peeled for that. I'll be on with you till 9 a.m. today. Stay tuned. 8:35 a.m. KOAN KVNT. Fagan and Biegel on in the morning, and a big announcement coming here in the next couple of days. I am in here until 9 o'clock, and I'd love to hear from you. 569-1080 is the number. Dave Harbor, who is a stalwart and somebody who really does understand the brilliance of the private sector and how well, when something needs doing and makes sense and monetary sense, it gets done and gets done fast and it gets done well. I'm so glad to have you on with us, Dave Harbor. He is the writer for northerngaspipelines.com. By the way, if you're looking for him out there, welcome.
Well, good to talk to you, Glenn.
We are in the midst of a fairly dramatic change in people's views of government, in my opinion, because for the very first time, the conservative argument that if you want government to do that, you need to write a check. That has been true in the state of Alaska, but it will become true now. So in the midst of that, in the midst of having all of these discussions, I guess I'm looking for your initial view of, are we in a long-term downturn? Are we, is this going to recover? If oil prices do recover, to where do you think they might?
Boy, I tell you, if either one of us had a crystal ball, we'd make a lot of money on Wall Street trading options right now. But we can make a few observations. One is that the Saudis, of course, appear to be involved in a concept known as predatory pricing, whereby they have the ability to lower the price very low because their cost of production is so very low. In fact, it's lower than the cost of production of many competing producers around the world.
So many of the OPEC countries could not afford to produce oil if Saudi Arabia really got to the point. Saudi Arabia could push out a bunch of their OPEC cooperating members.
Well, not only that, but also U.S. producers, particularly in certain high-cost areas. One of the things that Alaska is probably the highest cost area in the United States. I don't know, in some different production areas, perhaps the Gulf rivals it, but
for conventional oil, is that what you're talking about, or for any oil? Like,
yeah, really, it's fungible now. You know, oil worldwide is traded as a commodity, and so distinguishing between traditional oil and non-traditional
just confuses it and doesn't really help explain the situation. So Alaska is one of the highest cost places to do business, just as a starting point.
Well, yeah, and from the audience viewpoint, a lot of people know this instinctively, but in fact, we're very remote from the marketplaces, kind of like Sakhalin is. But Sakhalin's located on the coast in Russia, and we have to go 800 miles by pipeline to get it to the ocean. Many of our competitors, like Indonesia and Australia, are in temperate zones, where the cost of labor is lower. The climate is better. The logistics are much cheaper. And so we have a lot. The thing that we've had going for us is that we've had a giant elephant oil field that has taken and was capable of taking a lot of abuse because it was just so prolific and so huge. But now that we're getting toward the end of the production of the original field, or I say the end, we're always discovering a little more as we stretch and reach out. But yet, even with all of that effort, we're still spending more money, or the producers are, on aging facilities and trying to keep them going. And we've got now what is an old pipeline. Didn't seem like that time passed very fast. And then you've got the new exploration coming in. So Alaska is competing with a high cost of production with other places. The thing we've got going for us right now, I don't know how long it'll last, is sort of this implicit agreement between the producers and the state that because of SB 21, which did need to be revised, its progressivity factor was just abhorrent.
ACEs needed to be revised.
That's right,
Mm-hmm.
and it was, and there's an implicit agreement in that because of that, more investment will occur. And as luck would have it, just as SB 21 repeal was defeated in the referendum vote in August, at the very same time period, we started seeing a lower and lower price of oil until between then and now we have about a 50% cut in the value of Alaskan crude. So nobody could anticipate that. So you've got to look at it from a producer viewpoint. They're thinking, we like Alaska. Alaska has a lot of potential. We want to continue investing. Alaska did make an effort to improve the investment climate with SB 21. We want to keep faith with that. And yet their value of oil here is cut by 50%, just like yours is. And elsewhere in the world, that we're beginning to see cuts. Although I'm sure some of the companies are trying to delay announcements on the basis that, well, maybe the price of oil will go up, and we won't have to endure these long-term cuts.
But that's got to be increasingly less likely. Dave Harbor on phone with me, northerngaspipelines.com, and somebody who's worked in the economy here in Alaska doing any number of things. The price of oil going up above $80, let's just say that's a very important number, seems to me increasingly unlikely, if not impossible, because Saudi Arabia determined that they could not compete with the United States shale oil production at that level.
There are almost too many factors. You could say that commodities values always go in cycles. They'll go up and then they'll go down. It doesn't matter whether it's coffee or copper or oil. All of those commodities go up and they go down. And what happens in the private sector, that invisible hand of economics, is that you'll get people producing a lot of supply because there's a big demand for it. And then they keep producing more and more supply, which lowers the price. And when the price lowers, the production begins to decrease because there's not as much room for profit.
The back and forth, the market responding to itself. Oh yeah. Well, that I agree with. I agree with that, but I just think that $80 we could sort of set as an upper range, because at that point we could produce 20 million barrels of oil in the United States per day, and the rest of the world simply can't allow us to produce that much oil. That's what I'm thinking.
You've got all of these, but you've got different factors working now than we've even discussed. Mm-hmm. One is that there are still companies currently making new investments into shale. On the other hand, there are other companies that have been invested into shale, oil and gas, that with a low price have reached the point where the cost of producing it is higher than what they're getting for the oil, or borderline.
So the more they produce, the more money they'd lose. They need to shut down production immediately. Hey, Dave, can I keep you on? Can I keep you on with me? I realize you're in Ecuador or someplace, and we need to talk about whether or not Alaska has enough time and the will to diversify its economy. I'm thinking pebble. I'm thinking rare earth minerals and so many other things, timber, enhanced fishing, maybe any opportunities that we have. Can we do it? Should we do it? And is that really the only answer that we've got? 8:44 a.m., KOAN, KVNT, Glen Biegel in here, Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Stay tuned. 8:47 a.m. We've been talking about the finances for our state and for the oil industry and really what the energy and investment climate is around the world. Your investment climate is just as important for your family. Country Financial is there. They have experts, professionals who can ask and answer questions that you might not even know that you should ask. And that's what I found out when I went and visited with them. Kent was actually the Country Financial representative that I met with a couple of times. We spoke for about 2 hours, and he walked me through what my responsibilities were and what my future could be, depending on how I invested. They will help you invest. They will help you get insurance and make sure that your life is covered. 866-COUNTRY. That is the number, 866-COUNTRY, countryfinancial.com. Go check out our good friend Mike Daniels and his team of representatives. Go back to the phones here and talk to Dave. Dave Harbour is on with us. Dave.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
And you're coming to us from Ecuador. I would imagine you are a very active participant in doing the right thing all the time, and it's very admirable of you. What are you doing in Ecuador, by the way?
Well, I make a lot of mistakes. First, let me correct you, but I do look for opportunities everywhere. And my wife and I purchased a place down here a couple of years ago, so I spend time going back and forth, as well as my consulting and photography in the lower 48 and Alaska. So, yeah, I keep busy.
Now, I need to buy, you offered me this a long time ago, and I need to buy my pictures from you. Is that offer still on the table? You took some pictures of me a while ago.
Well, you're in luck because when I do photography for my own purpose, if somebody wants a picture of themselves, the first one is free. So all you got to do is ask, and then if they want other photographs, then they pay for them.
All right. Well, look, I need to pay you back for calling us from Ecuador anyway. So I need some of my pictures. They need to put them up on a new website. That's going up. I really appreciate you being on with us here. We're in the midst of a fairly heady discussion about where the state of Alaska is headed. I think that for the very first time, we are going to be able to, with definitively say, if you want the government to do and you lay out whatever it is, you personally will be writing a check for it if we keep doing business the same way. And that's a new situation. So we have a lot of people's attention. A lot of people are going to be trying to figure out what is a core service of government. How do we run our tax structure? What kind of investment climate do we have? All ears are open. One of the things that does not get talked about very much, and Dave Harbour is on phone with me here on Fagan and Biegel on KOAN and KVNT. One of the things that doesn't get talked about a lot is what else could we do in Alaska? What else? What's the right answer for what should Alaska be doing? Can we diversify? Do you have views of that?
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, this is sort of the way Alaska was before Prudhoe Bay, you know. And then the money started coming in. All of a sudden, you just asked government for money, and you hired a lobbyist, and you got what you wanted, and there was plenty of money. So. Even conservative types, when the more, I don't know if there was that big a difference between liberals and conservatives at some points in government, because a liberal person would say, give me money for my project, and the more conservative person would say, fine, I'll let you have yours if you let me have my capital project. And then it just mushroomed, and pretty soon we have this huge superstructure of entitlements and government that when you get a majority of people that are beneficiaries, that means it's hard to get a majority vote the other way. So that's where we are.
Is it safe to say, Dave, that we can't continue? That the one thing for sure that will not happen is we will not continue to do business the way that we have done business in Juneau, which is, oh, look, there's a pile of money. Let's go spend it.
No, actually, you can continue to do that as long as there's $10 left in the permanent fund.
Oh, they're going to go after the permanent fund next. Well, that's news to people. A lot of people are.
All it takes is,
go ahead.
All it takes is a vote. But
well,
you asked about diversification.
Yes.
Diversification. So, I remember about 20 or 30 years ago, I was involved in industry at that time, and I did a study on what it would take to equal the production of crude oil bay to diversify the economy. And I don't know, oil then was what, 20, 25 bucks a barrel. So I looked at the commercial fishing industry. As you know, Alaska has probably the world's greatest commercial fishery. And at that time, I calculated that it would, in gross revenues, the commercial fishing industry would have to expand by 80-fold in order to equal the value of production at crude oil bay.
80-fold. So now it would be hundreds of times. We would need hundreds of times more commercial fishing in order to match crude oil bay.
I don't know, but also the value of fish has gone up, so it'd be, you'd have to totally redo it. But the principle is the same. Here's the deal. Let me just lay this out for you. This is after just long experience in observing the situation. Alaskans want a clean environment. We want a great state where we can go out and do things without, we did not move here because it would be like New York City or Chicago. We moved here because it was Alaska. And what does that mean? It means we want a lifestyle that provides plenty of wealth, but not many people. Who would disagree with that up here? So if that's an assumption that we can all generally agree with, then what we want is an industry that produces, or industries that produce a lot of wealth to help us run the state, but attracts few people. The oil industry is the perfect industry for Alaska. It is capital intensive. It produces a great deal of revenue with very few people, unlike other industries. And it takes all of us together. And, I'm proud of the fact that we are diversified, and we do have commercial fishing, and we do have tourism. And I wish we had more timber and more mining. But here's the deal. A lot of the work up here that's non-oil industry is seasonal. And a lot of revenue is produced, but not much revenue that supports government service. If you net out how much a given industry like commercial fishing or tourism provides in terms of jobs and all that, probably a lot of money and a lot of jobs and a lot of families are fed. But when you consider the seasonal nature, the unemployment, and so forth, that it goes along with it part of the years, I'm not so sure that some of those industries don't actually become a net loss to the state of Alaska if you're looking at it with a cold eye of pluses and minuses.
In other words, they provides to the state. First of all, the most important thing I think for you and me is they provide jobs. Jobs are critical. We build our families around them. Right. Upon that, we build a society. We don't build a society based on the state. But if you net out, here are people who give just a little bit to the state, but then since they're unemployed for such a great period of time because of seasonal employment and massive unemployment, they ended up netting out a much greater cost to the state because those industries keep people there who are not going to be supported by the industry alone.
And I'm not saying that we ought to have less of those industries. I love those industries. I love tourism.
But they're going to have to learn to live without subsidy.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
If they realize the reality of the situation, they should love the oil industry.
Yeah. Because
the oil industry, and paying 90% of the state operating costs and about a third of the entire state of the economy, pays the bills that enables them to live the lifestyles that they did. And without the oil industry, imagine the taxation and the regulation that would occur on those industries. You wouldn't be able to afford them in this environment up here.
Well, are we headed in that direction? I mean, that's really the question. We're talking about diversifying the state. Dave Harbour is on the phones. You can go check out, and he's got a fantastic website. Most people don't know about it, but you should. Northern Gas Pipelines. It's updated virtually every day. There are comments in there from people who are the heads of industry. They know what's going on about apprehension about the approach by the Walker administration and people in the state of Alaska who think, well, we need to change the tax structure already. with these high oil prices and difficult investment climate, that may be exactly the wrong thing to do. So go out to Northern Gas Pipelines. But we're talking about diversifying the economy and looking at what does the future of Alaska hold if we do, and what does the future of Alaska hold if we don't.
First of all I'm saying, Glenn, is all of the industries and the works, the retail industries, all of the school districts, the public employees that are beneficiaries of somebody who's paying most of the bills. All I'm asking is that they delight in the fact that they live in an oil patch state. Thank you for providing a state that has that provides great wealth with few people, so that the other people can enjoy that wealth. And if we just do that and start treating the industry right, instead of giving examples of retroactive taxation and high taxation. I mean, what industry could withstand a 20 mil property tax, plus a big income tax, plus a big tax on their production?
Not many. Dave, you have laid out the case. Our oil industry is the state of Alaska, and most of the people who are here because of it. And hopefully that will not change, but we'll see. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. Folks, it's been a pleasure to have you with me. Glen Biegel here, in for Fagan and Biegel. God bless you. Have a great Wednesday.